There comes a moment in your life when you suddenly realize you're closer to the end of your life than the beginning. My moment was finding this. This is a gray pube. Now, you can blame dark spots on too much sun as a teenager and wrinkles around the eyes for all the laughter you've had, but there's nothing to blame a gray pube on but being old. A gray pube is undeniably the beginning of the end. I can no longer live in denial. I've got granny crotch. A geriatric chia pet. Gross. When did this happen, and how did I miss this? It's not as if I've had a rich, thick coat down there for this thing to hide in all this time. I haven't had much hair down there my whole life. Once, at the urging of an ex-boyfriend who had a Foxy Brown fetish, I tried to grow a healthy 70s bush, but I was never able to improve on the embarrassingly sparse growth that I actually have. It's always looked like my vag has alopecia. Or vagipecia, I call it. And now it's going gray. And if I couldn't grow a thick black undergrowth, I'm certainly never going to have a lush, fancy salt and pepper bush. The kind I imagine Jamie Lee Curtis must sport. She's so comfortable in her own wrinkling skin. She looks great with her silver pixie haircut and her commercials for yogurt that doesn't make you fart. I bet Jamie Lee has a beautiful, lush carpet between her legs. And once the inevitable Iron Curtain falls on my womanhood, I'll be lucky if my pussy looks like the top of Larry David's head. I don't know what's happened to me. I mean, what's happened to me? I used to be cool. I used to be fun. I wore red lipstick every day, and I shopped at vintage stores, and I used to wear my pager laced into my shoe. I used to go dancing and do a lot of drugs and fuck people. And not just people, you know, but young, hot African men people. I was super fun. Once on the back lot at Sony Pictures, Eric Estrada offered to finger fuck me. Those days are gone. Eric Estrada's not going to want to finger fuck my Grey Gardens. In the beginning on Saturday nights, I used to stay out all night dancing and partying. Now I look forward to new episodes of the Bronson Pinchot Project, the new show on TLC that chronicles Bronson Pinchot renovating his 1840s Greek revival mansion in Amish country with his semi-retarded handyman, Mike. That's right. I'd rather watch my Saturday night watching Balky plaster a wall than go to your birthday party. Fuck you. In the beginning, I was badass. I seriously scared the shit out of people. Now I don't eat wheat, I don't eat sugar, I don't drink or smoke, I don't do drugs, sell drugs, or even know where to score drugs anymore. I once bullied a guy who owed me $50 for weed to pay me off with a collapsible pool cue and a regulation backgammon board. I pawned the pool cue for $25 and then turned around and won $3 grand in a 3-day coke-fueled amateur tournament of backgammon game after backgammon game with a droopy-eyed black man named Norman. In the beginning, I knew no fear. I once, accidentally, set a 100-year-old cemetery on fire after a misguided voodoo ceremony went awry. Now I can't leave the house without checking the toaster, checking the oven, checking the lock, check lock, check lock, check lock, check lock, check lock. I think about my own death all the time. I always have. How will I die? When will it happen? If I get some long-suffering illness, how thin will I get? I hope I don't die suddenly and naked. That would suck. I don't want to be in the shower with soap in my eyes. I live downtown in a high-rise on the 33rd floor, and I think about the earthquakes, and if the big one happens, I better fucking not be in the shower. Worse than being buried in the rubble naked would be being dug out naked. Sorry, rescue workers. I know this sounds dark, but if you spend a lot of time thinking about the worst possible ways to die, when the time comes and you do die in a more realistic way, maybe it won't be that bad. For example, most of us imagine that the worst ways to go out would be the typical drowning or burning to death, and while I agree those would be pretty horrible ways to go, if you're unfortunate enough to go that way, it won't be that bad if you're prepared for something far worse. For example, death by axe from the feet up. This is, after careful consideration, the absolute worst way to die. There you are, laying, of course, on a cold concrete floor, staring up at a tall, dark, handsome maniac. Yes, he's handsome, but that only makes it worse. He swings his axe, and it hits the center of the top of your foot with a loud thunk. The sound of your voice screaming is so loud you can't actually hear it. He swings again and hits you in the middle of the foot. Again, mid-calf. If you're lucky, you'll pass out before he gets to the knee, and you're definitely home free if he reaches the femoral artery. So, if I do burn to death, I can comfort myself with that. At least I'm not being hacked to death by the brawny paper towel man. Sometimes, to take comfort, I stare into the sweet eyes of my tiny little dog, and then immediately imagine her ripping my face open with her tiny chihuahua teeth. Now I'm disfigured. I wear a safari hat with a veil like the woman who had her face ripped off by that monkey, and I can't make eye contact with anyone because I don't have eyes. And when I walk down the street, children try to look up into the net to my non-face, and every now and then one of them sees what's up there, and their eyes get saucer wide, and they point and scream like Donald Sutherland at the end of Body Snatchers, the 70s version. And I go on Oprah to talk about my ordeal, and everyone cries, except me, because I don't have any eyes. What beginnings do I have left? I could learn to knit, or play bridge, or just put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger, because that's the same thing. I actually have thought about learning to play bridge under the guise of it being cool and retro, like all the young hipsters running around these days drinking Manhattans. Welcome to my bridge party. I have a gray pube. Let's play bridge. Do you like my dress? I got it at Chico's. Oh my God, Chico's. Speaking of Chico's, what happens when you die? Is there an afterlife? Reincarnation? Who's right? The Jews? The Catholics? Bill Maher? Is it like the end of The Sopranos when everything goes black and that's it? Because I'll be really fucking pissed if that's all it is. Because after all this, I've worked too hard not to have a reward at the end. Angels, trumpets, 40 virgins, whatever. Give me a loaf of bread and a stick of butter. What's next? Time flies, right? Where does it go? Grown-ups said time moved faster, and I heard that a lot. I think we all did as a kid, and I don't think any of us believed them. But is that how it is in the beginning for all of us? Is it necessary for time to move at different speeds for the young and the no longer so young? Some scientists say that when you experience things for the first time, more details get stored in your memory, making these events seem to take longer or happen longer ago. But once there's nothing new or novel in your life to remember, once there are no longer firsts, it doesn't take as long to think about the things we've done. So it feels like time moves faster. So perhaps the answer is to keep creating firsts. Keep creating new things. New beginnings. Bridge anyone?